You'd think sim racing just teaches you how to be fast in a virtual car, but after 10 years of it I've realised it can have a positive effect in your own life outside of sim racing if you let it. And as I've been sim racing for over 10 years now, I'm still obsessed with it. Not just the driving, but what it does to your mind. And as I have a background in psychotherapy, I look at this hobby through a slightly different lens. And what I've started to see is that sim racing isn't just about throttle control and braking points, it's a full-on training ground for self-awareness, emotional control, and discipline, and yeah, the occasional ego slap. So in this reflective video, here's what sim racing has taught me about real life, lessons that genuinely change the way I show up off track. And if you like these kind of videos, make sure to go down there and smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos just like this. Let's get to it. So, emotional regulation under pressure. There's nothing quite like being P2, 2 laps to go, someone right behind you, your heart rate starts picking up and your brain is screaming, don't mess this up. That pressure, it's real, and it teaches you something powerful: how to stay calm when your body wants to panic. Because if you don't learn to breathe and focus, you end up overdriving, missing your braking point, or rage quitting into the shadow realm. Turns out, this shows up everywhere in life. Job interviews, deep breath, eyes forward. Heated conversation, don't overdrive the chat. Trying to parallel park with an audience, calm hands, clean inputs. Sim racing trains your nervous system to handle chaos, and that skill is gold in the real world. Focus and mental endurance. So 30 minutes into a tough race, you're tired, your legs are twitching, your mind starts drifting, and then boom, one lapse in focus and you've met Barry Orr, Mr. Barrier, the wall. That's when it clicks. Mental endurance matters, not just for racing, but for everything. It's the same focus you need when you're studying for an exam, or handling crappy life events or moments of crisis, listening fully in a difficult conversation without mentally exiting the building. Sim racing really makes you build this quiet kind of stamina, the ability to stay with something longer than your attention span wants to. And in a world full of distraction, that can be a superpower. Another thing would be discipline over talent. So I'll be real, I'm not naturally fast, most of you know that. But there are aliens on iRacing who are born with car control in their DNA. Like their ECGs when they were babies were already showing better trail braking than I am now. But over the years, I've realized something important. You don't have to be gifted, you just have to be consistent. The people who got better weren't always the quickest. They were the ones who kept showing up, lap after lap, week after week, through the spins, crashes, bad sessions. That mindset has bled into real life too, so I don't need to be perfect at something to start. I just need to practice, and practice with intent, be a little bit intense about it, but practice on purpose. It's like a form of slow burn confidence, the kind that doesn't shout and scream at you, it just stacks little wins over time. So discipline over talent was pretty useful. And next one would be that ego is a terrible co-driver. Here's one sim racing lesson that absolutely slaps in real life. So your ego crashes more than your car does in sim racing. I cannot count the amount of times I've made a dumb move on track because I didn't want to be passed, or I held a grudge because someone dive bombed me 2 laps ago or 2 years ago. That prideful little voice in your head, it wants to prove a point more than it wants to finish the race. Outside of sim racing, it's the same story. Saying something you regret in an argument, refusing to ask for help, or doubling down on a mistake instead of just owning it. Sim racing taught me how to notice that little voice and then calmly tell it to shut up. You do not need to win every battle, you just need to stay in the race sometimes. Another fun one would be reading people equals better decisions. So this one is subtle, but it's huge. So good sim racers aren't just fast, they're predictive. They can read what the driver ahead is about to do, they spot patterns, they leave space before they need to. You start to develop this kind of sixth sense for intention, and weirdly that translates outside of the sim too. And I'd love for you guys to pause and let me know down below if you've ever noticed this, but you get better at reading body language, you've noticed emotional cues quicker, you learn when to push, when to back off, when to defend. But in a real life situation, when you're driving on the freeway, you can just see these things happen before they happen. The car hasn't even moved, they're still in their lane, but you can just smell their intention to do something, and more often than not, it comes to fruition. So sim racing has sharpened my intuition just a little bit, because sometimes the race isn't about being aggressive, it's about reading the room. And a really useful one would be one bad lap doesn't mean a bad race. Every sim racer knows this feeling. You mess up one lap, one corner, and your brain goes, well, that's the race over. But it's not. Unless you let it be, unless you really want to, but that right there, that's resilience training in disguise. Sim racing teaches you how to recover, not just physically, but mentally. Take a deep breath, run a clean lap, rebuild your flow, and go again. You make peace with your mistakes faster, you bounce back smoother, and that mindset, it carries you through way more than just races. And lastly is a very recent one that I've been learning, but because obviously I love my sim racing, but progress feels better than perfection. The most surprising thing sim racing has taught me is that the grind is more fun than the goal. Chasing personal bests, fine-tuning your lines, finally understanding how to trail brake excellently, it is addictive. You start to fall in love with the tiny steps forward, not just the big "I won" moments. And when you bring that into life, everything gets a little bit better. You stop judging yourself for not being quote-unquote there yet. You start enjoying the reps, you start enjoying the journey, the process, the grind, whatever it is for you, the process. You see how far you've come instead of how far you have to go. Very positive way to look at it, and it really helps kind of fuel more positive progress in the future. Sim racing kind of rewired my brain to see effort as rewarding, not just some form of necessity. So I guess a quick summary of what sim racing has taught me in real life. Stay calm when things get intense. Focus longer than feels comfortable. Show up when you're not perfect. Check your ego before it wrecks you. Read people. Respect space. Recover fast from mistakes. Don't let it mull you down. Just do your next step easy and then slowly prove to yourself that you're back in control. And chase progress like it's the best prize there is. It's funny, we all go to log on racing, but half the time, and depending like any performance and growth-based hobby, we're actually training for something much bigger. Sim racing, huh? Quite a wild ride.